Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome you to this webinar on agrobiologicals on sustainable farming systems in Eastern Africa. This webinar is organized by the Swedish International Agriculture Network Initiative, SIANI, and SIANI runs several expert groups in Asia, Latin America, and in Africa. If you would like to find more information about SIANI, you can check on the link that is posted in the chat. My name is Jacqueline Onyango. I'm a research fellow with the Stockholm Environment Institute. Me and my colleague Eva Bergin have been coordinating the SIANI East Africa Agrobiological Expert Group, launched in 2024 and now coming to an end. We were very honored to work with experts from 3 countries in the East African region, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. And in this webinar, we're going to hear from the 3 chapters. So our first presentation is going to be from Allan Mueke, a lecturer at Mount Kenya University, and Professor Cecilia Onyango, a professor from Nairobi University in Kenya. The second presentation will be delivered by Mesia, Ilomo, and Aneth David, lecturers from University of Salaam in Tanzania. And the third one is going to be from Tewodros Mulugeta, an associate professor at Kotebe University of Education in Ethiopia. We're going to have a short Q&A sessions after the 3 presentations, and I would encourage you to post questions in the Q&A as we go. You don't have to wait until the end of the session. You can post any questions that come to your mind as the presentations are being done. We will also hear from 2 projects implemented at a regional level, inSALSA and Agbio for SSA, and this presentation will be delivered by Maňourová from the University, from Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. And last, we will have a Menti-based discussion on key actions to support the use of agrobiologicals in Africa, and also how to foster collaboration, knowledge sharing between African countries, but also between Africa and Europe. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Allan and Cecilia to present the work from the Kenyan chapter. Over to you, Allan.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and good morning, everyone. As I've been introduced, my name is Dr. Allan Mueke, and I'm going to present what we have done as an expert, as a Kenyan chapter of the East African Agrobiological Expert Group. I've been working with this Professor Cecilia Onyango, who is in the meeting. They'll be making a very short presentation. So the presentation I'm making is on what we have been able to gather through the expert working group, and the expert working group, we have had a number of participants, including the industry, regulators, the regulator, and the researchers, together with the farmers, who are the main beneficiaries of the use of agrobiology. So my presentation is titled Status of Agrobiologicals in Kenya, Opportunities and Challenges. I hope you can be able to see it. Yeah, so there's a short outline there, which I don't want to dwell on, just about the introduction, regulatory environment, the challenges and opportunities that exist. Just a small introduction there on agrobiologicals, which products that utilize organisms, living organisms, which are really derivatives of the living organisms, and they include biofertilizers, biostimulants, biocontrols, and biopesticides. And these products are used to manage both biotic and abiotic stresses to improve crop productivity. So in Kenyan scenario, we have more than 150 products registered for use in Kenya and are available to the farmers. That is according to the Post Control Products Board as such. December 2024. And there are more than 30 companies, both local and multinationals, that are either importing, manufacturing, supplying, and dealing in agrobiologicals and in Kenya. And therefore, we have quite a number of products, both from biofertilizers to biopesticides and other products. So I wanted us to look at the regulatory framework that supports use, that is supports importation, registration, and use of agrobiologicals in Kenya. The first law that applies is the Pest Control Products Act 346, Agrobiologicals of Kenya, which is being amended through a bill called the PCB amended bill in 2022. The bill is under discussion in Parliament, and the most important aspect of this bill is the registration of Agrobiologicals Pest Control Products, MCPA. Previously registered in Kenya, the registration of a new pest control product containing the same MCPA is going to be fast-tracked, thereby speeding up the evaluation. The current law, as it states, applies the same criteria used to register synthetic pesticides. It was being used to register biologicals, and therefore it had a number of challenges and shortcomings because some of the data requested is not easy to generate using from biological. And therefore, this bill, once enacted, is going to speed up the use of agrobiologicals, because once the same biological agent is registered, then another product of the same is usually going to be fast-tracked. The other one is pest control products importation and the exportation regulations 2022. Even though this regulation not cover special registration of agrobiologicals, but they are going to make an environment more conducive. They are going to ease the process of the registration. Another bill is the Plant Protection Act, 324, laws of Kenya, which was revised in 2012. It outlines the risk assessment, which is part of the registration process of the agrobiologicals, and therefore it also provides guidelines on how to carry out risk analysis, risk assessment as you provide data for registration. And then there's draft national phytosanitary policy of 2022, which enhances access of biological control tools to address emerging phytosanitary challenges for pest management and the compliance to market requirements. And then we have the guidelines for introduction and the use of bioproducts, biological control agents, and related products in Kenya, which was done in 2014. This includes, it covers biofertilizers, biological control agents, the beneficial organisms, plant growth regulators, and biostimulants. However, it also covers other aspects which are not really agrobiologicals. As you can see, there is manures, compost, and the rest, soil amelioration, amendment products. Then we have plant protection, biological particles and control agents, regulation of 2021, which facilitates, which is used to regulate and register facilities multiplying the BCS and monitoring release of Glasgow BCS and the registration and commercialization, as well as the risk assessment. And therefore, just before I go to the challenges, you realize that the regulation and registration of biologicals in agrobiology in Kenya is scattered and catered for by different pieces of legislation. And this sometimes brings in aspects of duplication and sometimes lack of clarity as to where, what product you need to go to where. But that is being worked on, is going to be analyzed. And in future, then we are going to have like one clearinghouse used to register these products. Now, what are the challenges that we are facing on the use of biologicals in Kenya? When you look at the manufacturer's point of view, we have new innovations plus existing laws. The science is moving very fast, and therefore some of the innovations coming up are not covered by the existing laws. And this can only be addressed by working, the researchers and the industry work together with the regulators so that they can be able to adapt and modify and amend the regulations to fit into a current development in science. Otherwise, without working together, then you realize there are products which are there, but there's no law which now allows for them to be used. Again, another from a manufacturer's point of view is the registration of bio products or agrobiologicals is based on crop rather than pest or pathogens. This means that if you are registering a biopesticide to use in cabbage, for example, for use of aphids in cabbage, you cannot use that product, for example, aphids in fridge beans, because it is basically registered for use on cabbage, and therefore that poses a challenge because it is the same product, is fighting the same pest or relative pest, same aphids, but now if it's used for one crop, you cannot use it on another crop, and that has been kind of a sticking point from the manufacturers and distributors point of view. And one is the regularity of existing laws. The current laws, as you have seen them, it takes quite some time for them to be reviewed and amended. And therefore, when a new product is there, a new innovation is coming, then it is difficult to be able to fit in and make it available to the farmers. This is mainly because it takes the process of review and enactment of laws, especially in Kenya, is a bit slow, and therefore it can take quite some time, and therefore that poses a challenge among the manufacturers. Then we have, from the smaller farmer point of view, the reason why I'm talking about smaller farmers is because, as it is in Kenya, agrobiologicals are being used by large scale farmers. And our focus has been how do we bring in smaller farmers or small scale farmers to adopt and utilize the agrobiologicals. One of the challenges is among the farmers. There's a study we did with Professor Cecilia in 2023, 2022, and we were able to get farmers' views on why do they use biologicals, or why there's low uptake. And one of them is perceptions on efficiency. That is, they say efficacy. They say that agrobiologicals lack knockdown effects. Farmers want to apply something, then they see the doodles flying and falling down. But the biologicals do not work that way. And therefore, they think their own perception that biologicals they are slow, or probably they don't work, or they are very low efficacy. Another challenge is lack of smaller packages, and because, like I've said, most of the agrobiologicals are being used by large scale farmers who have purchasing power, and therefore the manufacturers and the distributors are looking at the economies of scale. These companies are buying the biological in bulk, and therefore for the farmer, they want small package, you apply once or twice, and then the next time you need. And therefore they say these agrobiologicals, we cannot access them because they have you cannot get, you buy 1 kg, which probably for application, for example, in 5 acres, and the farmers are making even less, then it doesn't make sense for them. The other one is some biologicals have short lifespan, and therefore they require special conditions, not all of them. Storage conditions, the farmers will say, we may not have this required storage condition to purchase and use agrobiology. The other one is about cost of availability. We are thinking that biologicals are expensive compared to synthetic pesticides, and they are not available. So during the study I've just referred with Cecilia, we realized that agro dealers, who are the first line of defense by farmers, the key advisors, they don't stock, most of them do not stock agrobiologicals. And when we interviewed them, they said, one, there's no demand from the farmers. And therefore, they only demand products that are fast moving. And therefore, the farmer, they say, then because there's no demand, we are not stocking. The farmers say they are not available in the local market. So those are some of the challenges that makes farmers not utilize agrobiologicals in Kenya. So what are the opportunities? And I use that image to illustrate the role, the importance of agriculture in Kenyan economy. Like I can see horticulture in 2023 played a key role in earning the country good exchange, and therefore we have a very strong economy based on agriculture, and therefore when you look at horticulture plays a key role, and horticulture is one of the biggest consumers of agrobiologicals compared to the subsistence production. And therefore, we have a both agricultural sector, which provides opportunity for use and adoption of biologicals. We also have supportive legislations, even though we are saying the legislations are scattered and not very specific, but nevertheless, they have enabled the registration of biologicals in Kenya. For example, the Kenya's reduced standard, once it's fully implemented, because it talks about good agricultural practice, about integrated pest management, about sustainable agriculture, then it provides an opportunity now for farmers to use these biologicals because they fit in that description. Again, in Kenya, we have very strong R&D for agrobiologicals. We have homegrown companies that are working on manufacturing, researching, and produce agrobiologicals. We have even international organizations like ICIPED, which has strongly produced has a very strong research component on agrobiologicals, and most of the products which come out of research and commercialized to different companies in Kenya. And therefore, that provides us with an opportunity to enhance and adopt use of agrobiologicals in Kenya. With that, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Allan, for that wonderful presentation. I think I would like to welcome the second presenter, who is Mesia, Ilomo, and Aneth from Salaam. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
And you can hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll just minimize the controls and start. Hello, everyone. My name is Aneth David. Together with my colleague, Mesia Ilomo, would like to present the outcomes of some activities regarding the East African Agrobiologicals Expert Group in Tanzania. Next. This is what the presentation will cover, a bit of a background and the activities, overview of activities and some outcomes and conclusion. So Tanzanian agriculture is dominated mainly by smallholder farmers, and those who can afford usually use synthetic inputs to increase productivity, the crop productivity. Agrobiologicals in general are relatively new and largely unknown. And to the few farmers who know about agrobiologicals, accessibility and availability is still a challenge. However, we all know agrobiologicals are aligned with sustainable development goals, especially to increase food productivity in the face of growing populations, but also climate change. So the East African Agrobiologicals Expert Group set out to address some of these challenges to increase accessibility of agrobiologicals for sustainable food productivity. And for Tanzania, we had several activities, and the first was mapping of the stakeholders of agrobiologicals, as well as the adoption rate and use. But also we conducted 2 national workshops that were held in Arusha. The first workshop was on October last year, and the second workshop was just concluded April of this year. It was a 2 days workshop. But along the journey, there was a lot of sharing of lessons and challenges and knowledge, both in Tanzania, but also regional-wise. So here are some of the highlights of the agrobiological stakeholder mapping in Tanzania. And we identified several groups along the entire value chain. There were farmers, there were manufacturers, traders and importers, there were researchers, regulators and policymakers, but also farmer and manufacturer network, farmer support networks. And all of these groups have had they experience similar challenges, but they're different focus. So for example, for farmers, one of the biggest challenges was low awareness on agrobiologicals. And for those who knew about agrobiologicals, access, especially in rural areas, was a challenge, which led to low adoption. For manufacturers, traders, and importers, the high barrier to entry, especially for small industries and startups, which were categorized, were treated the same way as in multinational companies. That was a challenge, but also underdeveloped distribution channel. For agro dealers, for example, who wanted to distribute agrobiologicals to farmers in rural areas, distribution channels were a challenge. For researchers, the low conversion rate of research outputs to products, most of the research ended with publication and ended up sitting on shelves, but also changing priorities and focus of donors. Large part of the research on agrobiologicals in East Africa depends on grants from donors, and as they shift focus, it makes it difficult to persistently work on a problem and come up with a product and end up with a solution that reaches farmers. For policymakers and regulators, we have robust national policies as well as acts and regulations, especially on the side of biopesticides, but we don't have specific guidelines to guide the applications or the use of agrobiologicals. So this was one of the challenges. But also a system that is really focused on chemical inputs or chemical bias systems and challenges with classification of agrobiologicals. We got an example where an importer got a certificate to bring in agrobiologicals. These were biopesticides, natural enemies, but they were classified as live animals, and the certificate read as a chemical input. And these both have implications in terms of tax systems. For farmer networks and manufacturer networks, limited connectedness so that these networks worked in silos and there was no connectivity in terms of trying to leverage their expertise and resources. But also a really important thing that came up was lack of solid evidence on agrobiologicals. For chemical inputs, whether fertilizer or pesticides, you can tell a farmer, use this much for this long, and this is the outcome you expect to see. But agrobiologicals depend also on different climate or weather systems and soil and crop. And so sometimes it's difficult for them to recommend to farmers to use agrobiologicals because some of them don't have a very clear evidence of function. And this is shows some of the activities during the workshops that were conducted in October and April this year. And the workshop brought diverse stakeholders, and the format focused on giving a platform to the stakeholders to give their perspectives and less of presentations. We got really useful insights from these workshops. And some of the immediate outcome of the workshops were increasing of the level of understanding on agrobiologicals in general, but also agrobiologicals regulatory framework in Tanzania. The graph on the left, the image on the left shows the level of understanding on agrobiologicals in general, and we see the blue bars indicate understanding before the workshop and the green bars after the workshop. On the graph on the right was the level of understanding on regulations, regulatory framework for agrobiologicals. So we saw immediately people, before and after the workshop, there was a difference in the understanding on these aspects. But one of the things that came out from the mapping exercise, but importantly from the workshops, was setting on 10-year targets on agrobiologicals in Tanzania. And the targets targeted 3 areas: awareness, availability, and adoption. For awareness, we targeted to reach 50% of the stakeholders on agrobiologicals. Availability, we targeted to increase availability of agrobiologicals by 20%. And then on adoption, at least 15% of farmers use at least one product, agrobiological product, by 10 years. Of course, we have to identify like who are going at the champions, where we're going to get resources, how we're going to achieve these operational plans, as well as monitoring and evaluation and stakeholder commitment. Now I invite my colleague Mesia to take you through how we plan to achieve this target. Mesia, can you?
Yes, yes, please. Yeah, thank you, Asante-san. Yeah, thank you, Aneth. Yeah, I mean, as Aneth just ended, I mean, there are some targets that stakeholders had, or at least try to put. They may seem, some may seem ambitious, but I mean, this is what the, stakeholders came with. And then the next question was how we can achieve this. So there are some immediate action points that the stakeholders agreed. So one was to connect. There's a need to connect the stakeholders. And this is currently done through, a network which is, connected through WhatsApp. I will share some few highlights in few minutes. And then the other one was, there is a need to create awareness in a broader sense, but also the capacity. And this is for all stakeholders. I mean, not just the farmers, but also the regulators, because as Allan mentioned, agrobiologicals are new, evolving. So there will be new issues, over time. So there's a need to build the capacity of all. And this could be in different ways in terms of workshops, showcase, training, but also to the extent of, looking at the curriculum so that it's integrated in the education system. But then there was also a point that we need to engage the government in terms of some of the issues, regulatory policy issues. And this could be in the form of policy brief, but also a dialogue with the government, officials, or at least institutions. But the other thing in Tanzania, we have had a number of sessions, of course, including the 2 workshops. But up to now, it's not very clear in terms of how many agrobiological products are in the country. So some, for example, are thinking it's maybe something, maybe 10 or less, and some are even mentioning something around 60 plus. But then where is this list in terms of the complete list is not very clear. So there was an agreement that we need to have this list so that then it involves the farmers, but also the stakeholders. Next, Aneth. Aneth. Yeah, so I mentioned about the network in terms of connecting stakeholders. Yeah, so we created, this network during the first workshop, and up to this point, we have, around 50 members, and this is a diverse group. Including, as you can see, the farmers, networks, regulators, researchers, companies, and extension officers. And then in this particular network, we have our core values, more in terms of partnership, sustainable oriented, but currently it's more voluntarism, but of course we work with a spirit of sharing. And then the critical issue here, how to sustain this network, and then putting some structures, but also ensuring that the network continue to be relevant. Otherwise, maybe it won't achieve what was intended. So in terms of the, back please. Yeah, so in terms of the issues that, next, please, Yeah, in terms of the issues that, may need to be digested and maybe engage the government in terms of the dialogue, and maybe some policy brief, include the cost of registration, which is, is high from the stakeholders' perspectives. And for example, it requires around USD 10,000 to register, a biopesticide, which is, on the high side. I mean, if you connect the second challenge, now you can consider the startups, let's say including just the graduates from the universities with great ideas. Raising this amount can be a challenge. So this is a point that the regulations and the Act could take on board and try to encourage innovation. And then there's also a question in terms of incentives. Yeah, so for example, the pesticides are exempted, for example, let's say when it comes to imports, import duty and VAT, but it's not the case for the agrobiologicals. So there's a point that we need to make that agrobiologicals, which are even advantages in terms of safety, but also health, this should also be given the same incentives. But also in terms of the subsidies, this is the case for the synthetic inputs, but not for the agrobiologicals. Next, Aneth. Yeah, so I mean, there was a lot, but we try to summarize some few issues as we have mentioned. Maybe just to finalize, I mean, there is a strong foundation that is already laid in Tanzania through the expert group, and the expectations are high. We see this in the meetings, but then the challenge now is how to sustain this. And then, of course, maybe this regional webinar is possibly towards the end of the expert group in terms of as a project. But then the question is, how do we move forward or beyond the project? Because we need to engage the policymakers, we need to create awareness and sustain these networks. So, I mean, it's a question that we maybe we don't have a clear answer, but it's something that we need to address. But of course, one way would be to embrace collaborations at national level, but also regional level. But importantly, also co-creation in terms of working with stakeholders. I mean, this refers to all groups of stakeholders, including the farmers and regulators and the companies. And then we also note that through this engagement, that there is a strong support from the government. We work closely, for example, with Tanzania Plant Health and Pesticides Authority. I mean, these are things that we should aim to sustain. Next. Yeah, so I think that is all. Otherwise, I appreciate Aneth that we have worked together to this point, and of course the support from SIANI and Swedish Environmental Institute, and all the participants who were part of this project. Otherwise, this is the end. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Mesia, for that wonderful presentation. And I would just like to encourage everyone, if you have any questions, please don't wait until the end. Just keep posting them in the Q&A chat, and then some of them will be answered as we go, and some of them will answer at the end. So without further ado, also, I would like to welcome Tewodros Mulugeta. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Can you see my slide? Okay, thank you very much. My name is Tewodros. I'm from Ethiopia, Kotebe University of Education. So the title of my presentation is going to be Agrobiologicals in Ethiopia, Challenges and Opportunities. Actually, it's going to be seen from stakeholders' perspective. I had executed two workshops in Ethiopia, stakeholder workshops. One was in June last year, and the other one is in April 2025, this year. So to give a small introduction about agrobiologicals, Allan said something about it. Actually, I'm not going to talk about it much. So agrobiologicals can be sourced from microorganisms, plants, beneficial insects, or other organisms. As you can see from the slide, they can be classified into three as biopesticides, biostimulants, and biofertilizers. And the biofertilizers are used for plant nutrition, and the biostimulants are used to enhance plant growth. And biopesticides are products which are used for crop protection. They can be microbes, natural enemies, extracts from plants or animals. Coming directly to the my issue, which means agrobiologicals in Ethiopia. The business itself is an infant. The agrobiological business in Ethiopia is an infant. So we have very few companies working in the area. There are a few individuals actually who are informally producing botanicals in their homes, and they sell it for farmers, and the farmers are really enjoying these products. There are actually the key stakeholders here are local producers. These local producers are playing a crucial role in creating sustainable agriculture and safe. These producers are important so that they provide smallholder farmers with alternatives so that they can have safe and sustainable agriculture. When we come to the role of these producers, the local producers, which are one of the stakeholders, the local producers, they play various roles in the sector itself. So one is they produce, or they produce as innovation, they serve as innovation hubs in the agriculture sector, particularly by producing agrobiologicals. They're continuously working to produce or to release new products. The other is they save us foreign currency. As you might know, in Ethiopia, foreign currency is one of our hurdles. So these companies, they can minimize this hurdle by producing fertilizer and pesticides, which are agrobiologicals locally. The other thing, or the other role they can play is they are building capacity. When we say they are building capacity, they are establishing laboratories which are used to verify products and other activities related to agrobiologicals. So they are building capacities. In the next section, I'm going to talk about the challenges the different stakeholders are facing. When I say stakeholders, these stakeholders were mapped first, which includes agrobiological importers. They are one of the stakeholders. We have researchers who are working with agrobiologicals. We have NGOs which are supporting agrobiological activities in the sector. And we also have model farmers as representative of the farmers. And finally, we have producers. So when we talk about the challenges, let's start with the challenge from importers. The first challenge they refer about is the perishable nature of products. Not all, but some of the agrobiologicals are perishable. If there is a delay in the flights or slow shipment, can be devastating for the importers in the country. So this has a cost implication, not only on the importers, but the end users. And the lack of storage facilities is another challenge that the importers are having. Due to the lack of storage facilities, importers are focusing on few products that do not require special storage, or they cannot maintain stocks. They often function with pre-order basis. The other problem is the increasing cost. In Ethiopia, fuel price is increasing every month, which causes the rise in the freight cost, combined with the need for swift transportation, significantly impacting product pricing. The last problem is product incompatibility. Some importers raised that imported biological control agents often prove incompatible with conventional chemicals. So these are the challenges that importers are facing. The other group, researchers. Actually, we have got a couple of researchers who are working on agrobiologicals. Researchers acknowledge the high potential that we have in Ethiopia to produce agrobiologicals. They even claim the possibility of producing products better quality than imported ones with very low investment. However, they have challenges. Limited support from the government is one of the challenges they have, and actually which is hindering production capabilities and innovation. The other is policy imbalance. They say that regulators favor imported products over locally incubated products, which reduce interest in seeking novel products by the researchers. The other is the problem faced by NGOs. NGOs also have a stake in the sector. They support organic farmers so that they can practice organic farming. They also support the use to produce agrobiologicals. And The other initiatives they have, as I've said, is the youth initiative. They call it youth initiative. They support the youth to produce agrobiologicals in their homes and sell it for within the community. So regarding their challenge, they had difficulty of obtaining agrobiological products locally and lack of information about producers. So this is, I would say, a market challenge. We can put it as a market challenge. Model farmers, they also have their own problems, which when I come to the model farmers have developed means of producing food without conventional inputs, demonstrating the path to food security through biologicals. Regarding their barriers, they have regulatory barriers. Obtaining license and necessary credentials to produce the agrobiologicals is challenging for model farmers too. So when we come to local producers are the one that who have so many problems, and they are separated into regulatory problems. One of the problems they have is regulatory problem. One is licensing difficulties. A producer visits authorities for for 4 years straight to just obtain license. Lack of enterprise zones. They have to pay up to 100,000 to rent for a place, since they don't have enterprise zones. The other is unrealistic standards. The standards, particularly to produce the biofertilizers, liquid biofertilizers, are really hard to meet. Sometimes they are now being banned to produce. The other is export barriers. These producers, they say they have potential to produce and export to other countries, but the problems they are having in the country is not really allowing them to do that. The other is the product quality and market challenge. Quality verification is very expensive. It's being done in universities or research authorities in Ethiopia, but it's becoming very expensive for them. And regional inconsistencies is the other problem they are having. Once they verify their product in one region, which is agroecologically the same with the others, they have to do it in another region with extra expense. So it's becoming very problematic for them. Sorry. The other is market competition, and there are products being imported, and these products are really not regulated like the one which are produced in the country. The other is product adulteration. People are mixing conventional with chicken waste, and they're selling as agrobiologicals. So this is another challenge they're having. So the policy and guideline gaps. There are policy and guideline gaps in the country. So, to address, I mean, they have so many problems. So in order to address these problems, we're having a problem due to the lack of specific policies. We're using the regulatory which are used for conventional agricultural inputs. The other is missing research guides. Researchers are really having problems because we do not have research guidelines. The other is uneven enforcement. Imported products are less regulated, and locally produced are highly regulated. So what are the opportunities? We can have research collaborations it's one of the opportunities. We can engage youth, which is another opportunity. NGOs can support us here. And there is also a need for export market. So the way forward, what is the way forward? I'm completing. Policy reform. One of the way forward is policy reform. We need to reform our policy so that we need to put policies and regulations that supports the production and the distribution of agrobiologicals. Infrastructure development. Since these agrobiologicals require special infrastructures, it's important that we develop infrastructures, specifically the storage. The other is research and adoption. We need increased support for research and development combined with streamlined verification processes, which would accelerate innovation. Demonstrating effectiveness to farmers. Yeah, we need to give farmers that we need to create farmers some awareness among farmers so that they can utilize the products which are produced locally, particularly the agrobiologicals I'm saying here. So these are the way forward in Ethiopia. Thank you for listening. This is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Tewodros. I see you really tried to do it within the time given. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And I've seen some few questions on the chat already, but I would like to welcome my colleague Eva to take over this session now. Welcome, Eva. The floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Jacqueline, and thanks a lot to all the fantastic presenters in the expert group, where you provided a really concise overview of the situation on agrobiological use and production in Eastern Africa. I think we, as always in these webinars, we're always a bit short of time, but I think we should allow some general questions before you, Anna. 5 minutes on general questions on these 3 presentations. And I think there was a question to Mesia there that you would like to answer, Mesia, live, and that is a question from Peter Luther on intending to fund a biocontrol company in Tanzania. Could we get in contact with you there? So Mesia, if you could just respond to that as well. Mesia?
Yeah, yes, Eva.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter. I mean, I tried to write to Peter directly. Yeah, so I mean, it's we can try to link him with stakeholders in Tanzania. I mean, we are more than happy to do that. So I mean, it's just a question of maybe being more specific in terms of the kind of the stakeholders that I mean Peter would want to meet, or at least to approach. Otherwise, we have I mean some contacts that will be able to assist in that perspective. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mesia. Let's see if we have any more Q&A questions coming in here to the panelists. I have one just brief answer to the panelists. You mentioned there was a lot of opportunities, a lot of constraints as well. I wonder, one of the issues that we deal, being a farmer myself here up in Sweden, is the role of extension services and sort of professional advice for the farmers in using these type of products. How do you see the role of extension services playing a greater role in sort of guiding users in the use of agrobiologists? Aneth, you could start there.
Yeah. We also noticed that extension officers are the ones who are in direct contact with the farmers. We likened the extension officers to pharmacists. In Tanzania, for example, and probably in many African countries, when somebody is sick, the first contact is not a doctor, but they just go to a pharmacy to get a quick remedy. It's the same, like extension officers are in direct contact with the farmers, but most of them are not very aware in terms of agrobiologicals. And when they are aware, they lack the evidence to use to recommend to farmers. We know agrobiologicals don't work the same way as chemical or conventional inputs, but also the distribution channels and the chemical biased system. Like our agricultural system is still biased in chemical wise. Subsidies are given to chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides, but not agrobiologicals. So we think that empowering extension officers with the knowledge and the right tools, they are critical in supporting farmers to adopt to agrobiologicals. I think Mesia also spoke about even going further to try to modify or improve the curriculum for extension officers, that agrobiologicals becomes a prominent part of their education, so that when they go to work with farmers, they have the right knowledge and tools. So I do agree that they have an important role to play.
Great, great, Aneth. Cecilia, you had a comment on that. Cecilia Onyango from University of Nairobi, one of the experts here. Hi, Cecilia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eva. Yeah, and thanks to everyone who is listening. Yeah, with extension support services, and I'm going to bring up the case of Kenya, it's not quite strong. And after the devolution where the extension services were devolved to the counties, this is only the time we are seeing some counties trying to strengthen it. But otherwise, we have seen that the first point of assistance to the farmers, especially the small-scale farmers, are the agro dealers. And hence, we think that enhancing their capacities, because what the agro dealers are doing, they're selling what they have and what brings income. But we think that this is a good point if they can be capacitated in terms of knowledge on their use, on availability, and linked to the companies or the producers of these or those dealing with these products, then this is going to help. Because the issue here has been lack of knowledge or proper guidance to the agro dealers on how to guide the farmers. These for sure are the people supporting the farmers. This is where farmers go with their questions on what to be applied. So for us in Kenya, we are thinking that we need now to start embracing them and building their capacities to be able to deliver. Thank you very much.
Eva, we can't hear you. Can you unmute, please?
Sorry, I was muted. I think great, Cecilia. Thanks for that, and Aneth. I think we covered this aspect quite well on extension services. I'm looking if there are any sort of urgent burning questions here, and I see none really. So I think what we do now then is to move forward in this webinar. And you now heard from the expert groups reporting back from their mapping and mobilizing exercise of looking at what is the scene for using and producing agrobiologicals in East Africa. And the expert group is coming to an end now, and there will be a lot of reports written. Maybe actually we can have the link to the SIANI web page where you can find more information about the expert group and their way in. We can have that in the chat. That link to that web page, report coming up. But now we move to another set of initiatives which are ongoing, and we will hear from Anna Maňourová from Swedish Agriculture University, talking about the program Agrobiologicals for SSA and inSALSA. So Anna, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Eva. I'm gonna share my screen. And yeah, I would also like to thank to all the previous speakers for wonderful presentations. Most of them are also part of this project. Actually, projects I'm gonna introduce right now. So yeah, great job, everyone, and feel free to help me out in the Q&As later on. My name is Anna Maňourová, and I work as a coordinator at the Department of Plant Breeding at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. And in the next 10 minutes, I would like to introduce you to our two newly established projects on agrobiologicals in Sub-Saharan Africa, inSALSA and AgBio for SSA. So what are the projects about? So the first one, AgBio for SSA, was funded by the FORMAS Swedish grant agency, and we actually started last year in fall by kickoff meeting in Bagamoyo, Tanzania. And the project is a bit smaller, and it's more on the advancement and adaptation of biologicals because of the smallholder needs in Sub-Saharan Africa. And then we have the bigger sister, that's inSALSA, which is more about increasing sustainability of agricultural biologicals. And the other one, the bigger one, was funded by EU. It's a Biodiversa Plus call. The PI of both projects is my colleague Ramesh Vetukuri, also based at SLU. However, the father of both projects is Eric Alexanderson, who put together the applications, and yeah, he left from SLU by the end of last year. However, we are still in touch. He's on our panel of experts and so on. So yeah, we are happy to have him on board. Before I introduce the projects, I would also like to mention that the background is actually coming from another SLU initiative, that's AgriFosse 2030, and this was agriculture food security based initiative where the colleagues here, they did CAP analysis, knowledge, attitude, and practice analysis in Kenya, South Africa, and Ethiopia. And this was really the backbone to set our AgBio for SSA and inSALSA projects. As you can see, inSALSA is bigger. We have 9 countries and 14 partners, so I'm not going to spend the time here on introducing all of them, but we're extremely thankful to have you on board. And in AgBio, we have 4 countries and 6 partners. So everyone who's in AgBio is also in inSALSA, but inSALSA is adding a lot of European partners as well, and some sub-Saharan African ones as well. So what are the aims and goals? In terms of AgBio, it's more about strengthening the status of biologicals. We want to provide sustainable agriculture practices by integrating biologicals into the production systems. We want to increase the use of biologicals by smallholders. We would like to improve the research methods involved in biologicals, and also establish a network, as was mentioned a couple of times during the panel talks. In inSALSA, it's a bit broader, but also more specific. So in general, it's about enhancing the use and the adoption of biologicals. One of the objectives is to really improve the understanding of the effects of biologicals under local conditions, for example, drought. We also want to introduce biologicals in an equitable and inclusive way. That's very important. And we want to ensure that the biologicals which we want to introduce are evidence-based. So we are really focusing on development of robust field test protocols. And how are we going to do that? It will be through living labs. And now you can see a scheme from inSALSA, where we have different types of living labs. The first type is community-based living labs, and these are in Kenya and South Africa, recently being established. Then we have capacity building lab, that's the green dot, that's in Italy. And the idea there is that we will really try to find a synergy effect between the sub-Saharan African living labs and the partners and the EU support research sites to find a common dialogue and discuss and also try the biologicals together. Then we have the research support sites in Europe, and we have also replication lab in Ethiopia. This will be towards the end of the project, and we will try to leverage on all the knowledge we generated, all the experiences in the final year. Also, what is not mentioned here is that we will have experimental sites in Tanzania. I think Mesia is the one who can tell you a bit more about that. They are recently starting as well. So what is our focus? In terms of AgBio for SSA, that's quite straightforward. We are focusing on tomato and tomato leaf miner, Tuta absoluta. However, inSALSA is giving us a bit more freedom in what we want to work on. So, for example, in South Africa, there will be, apart from tomato, also potato. Now we are discussing about lettuce in the capacity building lab. So, yeah, we are just starting. This is just an overview of inSALSA. It's very complex, but I would just like to emphasize that in our work packages, we always have a leadership based on European partner and African partner, so they do that together. And each work package is also related to a hypothesis on the left side. The first one is on living labs establishment. In the second one, we are dealing with the monitoring of the biologicals effects. And there we also want to employ affordable crop phenotyping and focus on monitoring of the biodiversity. So when we apply the biologicals, what is the effect on the biodiversity? we will employ sequencing and other hardcore science stuff. We also have a work package on gender equality and social inclusion, which is very important, and this is a cross-cutting issue throughout the project. And then the standards establishment, as I mentioned already, having a robust field test protocols, which we can then later on also share with others. So what is the current status? We kicked off our project virtually, the inSALSA, on 23rd April. However, we are also planning to meet in person. So we are planning physical meeting towards the end of October in Italy, in Unitus, also in the capacity building lab. So yeah, hopefully that will work out. And we are establishing the community-based living labs, capacity building labs. We are developing all the monitoring protocols and guidelines and key indicators, and just trying to really align what we do throughout the living lab. So we ensure that we are on the same page. And we are also in the process of hiring the staff. So for inSALSA, there are 3 postdocs, 3 PhD students, and 3 MSc students. For AgBio, it's 2 postdocs and 3 MSc students. What we're also kind of completing these days is our panel of experts, which I think is very relevant for this webinar as well, because this is a place where different stakeholders from European countries and sub-Saharan African countries will meet and discuss about the current status of biologicals in their respective countries. What are the gaps? What are the needs? What are the potential synergies, ways of collaboration? And at the moment, we have 15 members, 10 are African partners, 5 are European partners. We will have at least 4 meetings. That's from the project proposal, but I think it will be at least double because, yeah, we seem to be excited about this activity and it's very important. And one of the outcomes should be policy brief, sorry, and some fact sheets, which we will create later on. And another relevant thing, hopefully, for this webinar is communication. In the corner, you can see our logo. It's not yet ready. One of the 2 persons will be of different color. We're working on that. But how you can get in touch with us is, for example, through newsletters. We are planning to send out newsletters externally about 8 times per year. We haven't set any web page for that yet, but if you would be interested in collaborating, just send your email address and I will put you on the list later on. We have a homepage domain, but we don't have the web page established yet. However, we are working on it. It will be done soon. And this homepage, as we already discussed with Ivar as well, could serve as a platform for the SIANI expert group as well, because we are happy to have you on board, and the policy aspect is very important and relevant for us as well. And yeah, then I wanted to mention also SLU Global Seed Money project, because I see many colleagues actually here in this webinar. Thank you so much for your attendance. And that's traditional knowledge on agrobiologicals in Ethiopia. We call it TK Agri. So this is bringing on board the indigenous or like traditional knowledge to have more of a complete package around the agrobiologicals. We are also planning to have 6 to 7 scientific papers, many policy briefs, but we want to focus on science popularization and science communication. So we want to target the youth as well, for example, through podcasts and videos. And that's also why we have, for example, NGO Voices for Change on board to help us with that, and a great ARC communication team. So I think I'm on time. That's great. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to conclude with a slide where we are at least online team of the inSALSA and AgBio. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, we keep in touch. Happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Anna, for a great presentation and very exciting programs and knowledge development that you are that you're doing in these programs. I wonder, do we have any? We have time for Q&As on Anna's presentation, so I wonder if there are any Q&A. You can write your questions directly into the Q&A, and then we can take them up with Anna. I have one thing which I thought of, and that is, Anna, which I think, I mean, one of the focus of your programs is developing testing protocols, solid protocols for testing efficacy of agrobiologicals, of these the ones who are testing. I wonder what the links are with the regulating scene using these protocols when they are I guess the regulatory authority. I think the process is the regulatory, they demand the producers to have a testing protocol to be used, and then they will check that they have done the test accordingly. But I wonder if you have that sort of communication with the regulatory authorities on what they need in terms of information to approve a certain biopesticide or biocontrol agent or stimulant.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question, actually. We are at the beginning of developing these protocols. So at the moment, we are really more focusing on the scientific side. How are we going to do the monitoring? What are we monitoring? But of course, also because most of the members of the SIANI expert group who are I would say, more knowledgeable about the regulatory work than I am are sitting here on the panel. I'm quite confident that once we have the research protocol established, the different living labs based in the different countries will ensure that this can be taken further. And also all of them are sitting in the different small groups which we have around the monitoring and about the living labs alignment. So I think this aspect which you brought up is not going to be omitted, but yeah, it's very complex at the moment to just
it is I guess
start the ball and get running.
I guess you need data to start discussing, and then you can sort of align that data demands, and sometimes, you know, regulatory there's a lot of nice to know, need to know type of questions, and you have to find the limit not to overburden with the nice to know, but concentrated on the need to know. I wonder, Mesia and Cecilia, you starting with Mesia, you wanted to comment this, please.
Yes, thanks, Anna, for your presentation, which was insightful. I wanted to say a little bit on the question that Eva asked, and as a relevant question. Yeah, so I mean, we take into account, the regulatory framework or the policy landscape in terms of this process. And one way is to incorporate, regulators or policymakers in the team, of the experts. So there some of them are members. So which means they'll be part of the discussion engagement, from the beginning. So at least they know what is happening. They can also, comment from their side. That is one. But secondly, for example, through the for SSA, for example, in Tanzania, we have, deliberately decided to have a workshop towards the end of the project, where we will, discuss or at least share these protocols, and these will include, diverse stakeholders, including the regulators, policymakers, to try to go through the protocols, but also, hear their voices, which means if there'll be areas to improve, then we improve, but at least they know, and they're part of the process, and then it becomes easy to at least to take it into practice. Yeah, thank you. That is what I wanted to say.
Great. And I see Nabil said that, well, there's a lot to be learned from the classical chemical protocols for the chemical pesticides. That knowledge could be used as well. Jacqueline, no, I think Cecilia, you had a comment as well, please.
What I wanted to say, actually, Mesia talked about it. Like, yes, we are involving the regulators in all the processes, because what we have seen is that you can do very good science, but then when you are going now to communicate the results at the end, sometimes we don't even have the language to communicate so that the regulators can understand. So what we are going to do in inSALSA and AgBio is to involve these regulators, and especially in the development of the protocols. What we realized from the CAP analysis was that the requirements for registration of the agrobiologicals were almost the same as the synthetics. Like, they needed very long efficacy trials and all that. But then during this period of inSALSA and AgBio, we are trying to demonstrate and have them from the very beginning to walk the journey to see what happens, the documentation as we develop the protocols, so that at least this can be picked up to inform the policies on AgBio registration, especially in Kenya. Thank you.
Great, great. Yeah, there's a lot of co-creation that is needed, I guess, here, and really good to know that this is ongoing and exciting processes. I think that you are embarking here. Let's see. There was one thing, Nabil, again, to encourage farmers, they have to get better prices for the products that use the use of agrobiology. Who's going to do it? Yeah, that's the sort of, how do you, when using agrobiologics, what's the advantage point in terms of the market advantage? And I guess that's another issue from the consumer side. Anybody want to comment on that, Anna, or any of the experts? How does products where you use agrobiological sell on the market, do you think? Are there mechanisms to certify or label or things like that? Which I think is an issue, of course. And the market side of the agrobiologicals. So maybe actually what we can do, I think we have a session now, which we're moving into, which we call a co-creative space, where the idea is that we will pose 2 questions, and the first being, what are the key actions to support the use and production of agrobiologicals in Africa? And the idea is here that you, the audience, be the experts in the sense here, and suggest in the Menti function that you will see on your screens, and then we will sort of have you coming in with proposals and ideas, and then we'll comment those as we go along. And the next question is a bit linked to what Anna presented, and it's how to foster collaboration, knowledge sharing across the countries in Africa and Europe on the use and production of agrobiologicals. So then we will have, let's see, a short, fairly short, but a 15 minutes session on that. So here we have the first question here. What are the key actions to support the use and production of agrobiologics in Africa? And here you can actually write, hopefully, you will be able to write directly into this Menti protocol on the screen. So we'll see your comments here. And maybe, let's see there. And there's a pencil, isn't it? There's a pencil on the right, on the very left there, where you can pose questions or post comments. Let's see if I can show you how to do this. There's a sign, but how do I write here? Text.
I can jump in.
Yeah.
The Menti.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe you show how you write in the Menti. Yeah.
Yeah, basically you can go to menti.com. You can either use your phone or your computer, and then you enter the code 4229 4229.
Right.
And there you should be able to then post your input to this question. What are the
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the issue. Yeah, right.
and then you should it will show up as you speak. Your answers will show up on the screen.
And right. And while we are doing that, folks and participants, we can just maybe expand on Nabil's question there. So I wonder, experts and Anna, expert as well, of course. Do you have any ideas on how to sort of, from the consumer side or on the how to sort of promote crops that are being that where you have used agrobiologicals instead of chemical pesticides, in a sense, or chemical biocontrol agents? Is there, what are the mechanisms to use there to market these and possibly have a market? They're right. Here we have a lot of good suggestions. On the market side, any of Aneth, for example, do you have any market advice there? Allan, do you have?
Hello. Yes, thank you, Iva. One of the issues you can look about the extension farmers is that there's need to work together. Like when you are designing programs for use agrobiologicals, we need to plan together with the farmers and traders, together with the extension officers. What we are doing now in HB4SSA, we have already put that program in place. So every time we have an activity like we launch the project together with the farmers. And when we are doing treatment applications and evaluations, we are going to invite farmers to come and witness what we are doing so that they can learn together with the extension officers and they go and implement what they have learned from our demonstration sites. So that's what we are doing with at least farmers and extension officers. And like Cecilia has indicated, we are very low ratio between one extension officer to the farmers. So very few extension officers, most of them are retiring, and therefore the county governments now are trying to, because of devolved function, they are trying to hire more. But now whoever is remaining, we need to work. We have learned to work with them throughout the project so that they can be able to disseminate the knowledge to the farmers. When the farmers have questions, then they can always go back to the extension officers who has already learned through the trainings and the demonstration what we are doing. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Allan. And I'm looking at the screen now with a lot of useful comments and suggestions there on capacity building among farmers, more R&D, lower registration costs for agrobiologicals, which was mentioned by Mesia there, and Aneth, awareness among farmers, have bombarded with chemicals, yes, awareness, great, yeah, showcasing products. And there, I guess, the living labs. I wonder, Anna, the living labs, how interactive will the living labs be, do you think? Would consumer organizations or like marketers, but like any sort of chain of that would like to sell a product, could they come and say, well, we would like to market product from a living lab here? Or do you have that sort of, is there a possibility for those market actors to come and visit those living labs, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the goals as well, because we want to be as interactive and engaging as possible. So of course we are targeting smallholder farmers, but we can't stay only there. We have to take it through the whole chain. So as Cecilia mentioned, we are planning, and Mesia as well, we are planning to have workshops which will be open to different stakeholders, but we are also thinking about target the communication once we know which audience we want to target in specific countries, because there are big differences between, for example, biologicals in Kenya, the adoption there, and South Africa, which are a bit more progressed. And then we have Tanzania and we have Ethiopia, and we have to really target the audience a bit more specific way. We can't take one general approach and just put it in all countries. So yeah, definitely living labs, they are living, right? So they're meant to be open for everyone who's interested.
Right, great. I'm looking at, yeah, there's a lot of ideas on tax breaks, lower input duty, yeah, stakeholder connectiveness. It's interesting in a sense, you know, we have in Europe, we have a fairly great market for organically grown vegetables and various type of crop products. So there is a sort of a labeling and so on. But that type of market, it's also existing in Africa. But what is sort of the link between organically grown vegetables and vegetables or crops being grown by agrobiologicals? Is there a clear link there? Anybody want to comment that? Tewodros, do you have an idea on that?
Actually, thank you, Eva, for the opportunity. Actually, in Ethiopia, we don't really put, when you go to the market, you don't know whether a product is produced by using organic farmers using agrobiologicals or conventionals. We don't have that separation yet. But still, we have organic farmers. Actually, to comment on the price issue, when we came to the price of agrobiologicals, actually, it depends on how it's produced and how it's supported. If the agrobiologicals are produced within the country by utilizing resources which are available in the country, that would really have an implication on the price of the agrobiologicals. So farmers can easily obtain these agrobiologicals and they can utilize it. The other thing is the support. Now, the big issue in Ethiopia, as I've said earlier in my presentation, the policy issue. If you want to produce any agrobiological, you cannot really do it right now. I mean, you can apply for in the regulatory bodies, for instance, Ethiopian Agricultural Authority, the one who is providing the certification and all the permission to produce. However, when you come to the sale of these products, you have to follow some strict standards which are produced by the standard authorities. So there is really huge problem in that scenario. One thing is, as I've said, they are regulated by the regulation which is produced for conventional producers or conventional importers. So this is a really huge problem in terms of producing. Therefore, the support really matters or implies the price in Ethiopia. So the government should do something to support these producers or local producers rather than hindering them with a lot of standards which are really difficult to meet.
Right. Yeah. Thanks. That's a comprehensive answer to the whole. Let's to the whole issue there. There's a lot of really good suggestions here and things, and we only have 7 minutes left. So I'm gonna try. I think we can have the second question on how to develop a communicative platform, or how to sort of have messages coming out from AgBio4 SSA and the inSALSA and the expert group, how to foster collaboration, knowledge sharing across the countries in Africa and Europe. There's a lot of things going on in Europe. There's a lot of things going on in Africa. How do we promote that knowledge sharing? And here, any suggestion is good. Now we have the chance to sort of advise in the inSALSA programs and Agbi for SSAs, how to sort of how to create communicative channels from these programs into a larger audience. Anna, you mentioned ideas of having you will have a web page coming up. Would you are you planning to have any type of? You said you will have a info briefs and policy briefs. Are you going to have webinars as well that you will publicly announce?
Yeah, it's not really part of the project, like the project description, but I think it makes perfect sense. And I think this is something we could also join our forces together with this group to, create a better impact as well. But yeah, we are planning to have the newsletter, but this will be more targeting, sharing what is happening in those two projects. But I think having some interactive webinars, more like overall or targeted to a specific country or a specific gap when we identify that it's a cross-cutting issue, that would definitely be one way to go about it. Yeah,
great. Create awareness, it's said here. That's your newsletter and webinars and policy briefs, joint research initiatives, which I guess, you have. Tewodros, you have a comment there as well.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. Actually, to foster collaboration, from the presentations, as you have heard, the experience in Kenya and Tanzania is way better than what we are doing in Ethiopia. So there is an opportunity to share experiences from Kenya and Tanzania. But when we do that, we should really start it through involvement of stakeholders. For instance, if I'm doing it this individually, this is not going to change anything. So we need to make sure that all stakeholders are involved, and particularly with the higher officials. That's one key important thing what we need to consider here. The other is concerted effort. Okay, I'm doing something here, someone is doing something there. So we need to bring these things together and take it to the key stakeholders, like the regulators and the policymakers. So these things are very important so that we can really absorb, or we can really take the experience of other countries. Otherwise, kind of individual efforts may not really bring about any change. Thank you, Eva.
Yeah, thanks. No, that's good insights there. Here you have capacity building of regulatory officers. Yeah, that's a good one. Involve them in co-creating knowledge and sharing. And then specifically having Agrobiologicals registration officers, which that's also a good one. Projects in Agrobiological administration, which is, I guess, that's the inSALSA what you do, and more of that, I guess. Technology transmitted researchers and end users. That's the innovation part, which is really important, I think. And that's, I think it's mentioned in many of your in the presentations by the expert groups that the need to sort of develop a kind of a channel from research idea into to how do you get to the market for somebody that are producing, and how do you encourage local production of agrobiologicals, which is a lot about how to expand businesses and business climate and so on. But I think there's a lot to be done there in that area in terms of financing and creating an enabling framework for SMEs and so on. Leveraging climate server short courses, training. We have a lot of ideas for it. This is a lot of ideas for a new sort of programs on sharing knowledge, agrobiological knowledge. A lot of good ideas. Friends, we only have 2 minutes left of this seminar, a webinar. So I would like to thank, me and Jacqueline would like to thank all of you presenters of this seminar for your insights, sharing your insights and your knowledge. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all of you listening. And to wrap up, I think the project of the SIANI expert group of Agrobiologicals is coming to an end. But reports from all these country processes and all the information they have gathered will be uploaded on the SIANI webpage. And I wonder also if we can have just to share an address to the SIANI webpage where you can find the expert group as well. And then we have to continue. I think, as Anna mentioned, there will be an upcoming webpage of inSALSA and AgBio for SSA as well, which will be really interesting to follow as well, what comes out from these programs. And we see a lot of opportunities, see a lot of interest here from a large group of people to share knowledge, but also follow what's going on here. So I think there's room for more webinars on these issues, specific issues, or just highlights of what's coming out as well. So with that, I think I close. Jacqueline, do you want to say something at the end here?
I would just like to thank you, to thank everybody so much, the presenters and the people who took the time to join and contribute in this particular webinar here. We look forward to interacting more with you through information sharing, as Eva said, through the SIANI website, and perhaps later on through the AgBio for SSA and the inSALSA project. Otherwise, I would just like to thank you so much and wish you a good day.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot, all of you, and tune in to the SIANI webpage as well for more information. You have information in the chat here. You have the link to the SIANI expert group. There will be more information coming, so tune in there and see what's coming. And have a very good day, all of you, and take care. And see you in the next Agrobiological webinar. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.
Bye, people.
Bye, Allan. Bye, Cecilia. Bye, Tewodros. Bye, Anna. Great, guys. Merci. Good. Hi, Anna. Great.
I will close the webinar now. We'll be in touch, guys.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.